George.
You want stuff that puckers you out a little bit?
To be fair, my kids.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. Alicia, will you please do a roll call?
Yep. Lori Belargin.
Here.
Ian McDonald.
Here.
Matt Kukal.
Here.
Lacey Oster.
Here.
Bruce Belargin.
Here.
Sheree Link. Marge Below.
Here.
Together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Is there a motion to approve our agenda tonight?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have not gotten any for public comment tonight. Shannon, have you had anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. So then going forward with our agenda, we will go to the seclusion and restraint report, and that's you, Abby.
Yeah, you guys have it. Do you
Yep.
have any questions for me? As you can see, it's,
Nope, it was
Bit-
linked to our agenda. Does,
yep, significant this year. I acknowledge that, and we put some things in place, hopefully going forward. It was definitely a unique year, started the year unique, just with the group of kiddos that we have. Hopefully this year we could start the year off more successfully.
any other questions or comments with that? Okay, then Dr. Newman with the high school staffing report.
Hello, thank you for this time to kind of give an update. So 2 weeks ago, kind of shared where we were at in terms of where we ended the year on our goals. And based on that, reflecting kind of after a year of looking, listening, and learning in terms of what we can do, what we can't do, our limitations, and really reflecting on our current structures and systems to support our students and staff, really coming to a conclusion as things are that we can't kind of keep up with the pace and keep the progress that I know we're capable of. And so the biggest part is to have this opportunity in front of you to kind of share my processing where I'm at overall out loud with you, but to also have that processing happen for the community as well. So kind of looking at where the dust has settled, looking at who are the people I have in my building, what are the strengths they give, who are we not tapping into enough, where might we leverage some things to create that system. Really spending the time reflecting on those people in our building, the skill sets they have to offer. Also recognizing, right, the budget circumstances that I can't be creating and asking for new money. So again, really utilizing and tapping into our current resources so that we can be responsive to our staff and our students. And I think that we did the best we can, but I know that we can be more responsive to the needs of our staff day in and day out, as well as the kids. And so that was, and I kind of shared that 2 weeks ago, where I thought we would be going this year in terms of trying to be more responsive as a building to our students. Last week, which I am excited down the road when we do our annual, what is your goal for the year? Last week we met as a building leadership team, and they want to go for some things that I didn't think that we would want to bite off, and so the need even more, the urgency that I need to create this responsiveness to our staff and our learning is even more heightened. And so knowing those things and looking at the different scenarios and the people in our building, and so I guess I'm publicly asking for the board's support to empower me to utilize my people, to leverage them, to put them in situations where I think we can be more responsive as a system to our staff as well as students. And so kind of where I'm at and looking at how do I put these pieces together on August 7th without not adding any new monies, while leveraging our people to create this system that I'm talking about, is really looking at to be empowered to make a couple staffing changes in terms of their roles and responsibilities for this upcoming year so that we can be responsive to the staff and the students.
Do you have any idea what those are?
Yeah, good question. So looking at where we're at in terms of, thank you, good question, sorry. In terms of, we currently have Mr. Probst as a 0.5 AD and a 0.5 AP. And looking at the day-to-day in terms of the consistency and ability to help be responsive, not only in terms of our behaviors, but our academic support. And having him be doing more full AP duties in terms of that responsiveness and supporting me not only behaviorally but academically, and then looking at shifting some of our PE responsibilities to a full-time, half PE, half AD. And so in terms of classroom impact, we looked at that with that proposed change. It would not affect our seniors that are looking to graduate with certain things, and we were confident that with that change that we can accommodate those kids over the course of their 4 years to get the PE health credits they would need. But again, would allow us to be more responsive in the day-to-day for our staff and our students, not just behaviorally but academically as well.
That's the only change?
Yep, for now, yep, this year that I can see, yep. There's only one change, but I think a significant one, and a significant one that I think can help all stakeholders in a way that they deserve, but also in terms of our stretch goals that they're looking to do for this year.
So when we talked about this at our last meeting, I asked for some information of area schools of our size and where they are with this kind of staff. Do you have that?
Yep, so I shared, I know I'd sent a late email, but yep, so there were 12 local schools that I believe are similar size, and 4 of them have full-time APs, full ADs, and then the 8 have either shifted AP/AD roles where there's middle school pickup on some of the AD stuff to accommodate that.
And in the email that I haven't seen.
Oh, yep, I sent it to you, I
says-
like, yep, the
It was sent today
outline
at
of that, yep.
2:59.
Okay, and it said, does it say where the schools are
Yep.
and all that?
Yep, yep. And so again, recognizing, right, like understanding locally what that context is, but then again, recognizing all the things that we currently do and hope to do that are different and more than what they do as well, is enough, you know, is a reason for that as well.
So 12 local schools of similar size and only 4 of the 12, so about a third of them
Yep.
have a full-time AP.
This wasn't sent to everybody, so, because I think it was
Yeah.
specifically a question that you had, Lori. So just to recap for the whole board, there's actually 13 schools that were listed. 14 having a full-time assistant principal and full-time athletic director. And then other ones that have that position shared. But then a couple like Osceola and St. Croix Central, they have an assistant principal and an athletic director shared, but also has a separate middle school athletic director, which currently our athletic director is athletic director for middle school and high school.
And another component that I failed to mention too is right, so recognizing where we're at when the dust settled with how the staffing changes happened. We went from 1 person really housing and supporting the AD to 9 people, kind of doing that work, and the hope is as well as to figure out with this change, we believe that we can maybe bring some of that back. So we're not having to impact 9 folks that we currently are having to, that we can maybe scale that back to get a little closer to back to normal again without any new costs or additional duties for folks.
Could we get a copy of that email?
Has there been any discussion about this FIAD AD person coaching?
Yep.
And is he going to continue in his coaching as he is now?
Yeah, similar to many hats that, you know, not only employees but families have, whether you're a parent and have a kid and you work in the school, or others that, you know, you have to wear those hats. And then in addition to that, the checks and balance that, I suppose technically or organizationally, that athletic director is still housed under me, so ensuring that oversight and, right, I don't know if you're alluding to making sure that, you know, roles don't get muddied as a coach and athletic director, but ensuring that
Well,
work is done
what
well.
I'm mostly concerned about is the ability to supervise when you're the head coach of a winter sport that is a really long season?
Oh, yeah, so in terms of, we already do that right now, so it was this past year between me, Shannon, and Trent doing that, but we had already anticipate, we already printed off the schedule for home events that we're all supporting that load, as well for supervising and just having a presence there.
Okay.
Yep,
Because that's currently not just the athletic director, that's.
correct,
shared by
yeah,
someone.
yeah, that's all
But
of
it's
us on board.
Primarily.
Yeah, well, not,
I wouldn't
No.
say primarily.
no, yeah, no.
How about the parts of supervise, I've read the coaching handbook and what's expected of the AD with evaluating coaches and, supervising or evaluating practices and all the other responsibilities. When you're a head coach for a long winter sport like that, is the person gonna have time?
Yep, and so again, the biggest difference is, right, like, we can say and schedule the best we can for a 0.5 AD and AP, but between weather days or other things that can come up and derail that pretty quickly in terms of not shifting that 0.5 to 0.5, that we have a master schedule that we can set in stone to allow for greater chunks of time to do the work in general. Again, that's what I'm speaking to, the opportunities, again, to pull back from the 9 that person can do with an uninterrupted period of time that isn't afforded when you break it down in different ways. So again, I just wanting to share my thought process out loud that this isn't an off the cusp. It's really been looking and reflecting at a year what we want to do and hope to do for our staff and our students, and believe that this can give us a faster track to hitting those goals a lot quicker. And so I suppose to seeking your support in giving this shift, and then for the public to hear again that this isn't a new cost, this isn't, but it's only going to hopefully help us get to the responsiveness that we need to be at.
Well, and I think in our last discussion, we didn't think it had to be necessarily approved, but because there is a contract that states that it's athletic director and assistant principal, I think then we would need to approve that to be able to change the language of that contract, even though it's not any additional costs or less costs or anything, I think with that contract
Right.
language.
Yep. Yep.
So is there, I guess we didn't put that in for our topic of action as far as approving. Would we feel comfortable approving that at this meeting or want to put that on our next agenda as an approval item?
I think we should put it on our next agenda as an approval item.
I'm a little nervous with timing because the start of the school year and especially fall sports and lots of different things that go around that.
Yeah, and I would go back to, I appreciate the comments of Lori too, just right digging in, especially during, certain seasons that may be busier or other. Again, we're prepared and waiting again for your approval of this, right? Because now we're talking about transition plans to make sure that
Right.
individual is successful. The implications as we near wrapping up our schedules for our master schedule, because there could be shifts to our master schedule that, right, delaying it potentially 2 weeks.
Well, I look at all just the stuff
Yeah.
coming out for fall sports and
Yeah.
things now, having, and I think as a board, because this was brought to us in closed session, this isn't the first time we're hearing about it. It's the second time we're hearing about it, so.
I agree. Do we know that it's kind of a benign language change, isn't it?
So it really would just change the language in the contract to state that it would be a full-time assistant principal.
Correct.
Versus
Mhm.
half and half. But no monies would change, no.
Correct.
And just to clarify, I think one of the things that we talked about as far as that, well, why can 0.5, kind of be taken away? Some of that has been taken out because of summer school, right?
Yep,
With the
so between
IS.
summer school, like I said, right, there is a rate in which we're meeting those needs, like I said at the beginning, in terms of, right, we have both of them, we can get everything, but again, looking at this change, how it impacts overall systematically, our seniors will get what they need, right, because they need to, they're leaving us after a year from now, but again, looking at the academic plans of those kids that won't be able to get a course this year because of their shift, we can meet those needs and ensure that they're not missing out on that opportunity in the long run, so it just, will meet their needs, just it won't be this year, which in the long term will give us more bang for our buck in terms of the responsiveness that we can have day to day, if that makes sense.
Bruce, did you have any questions at all with that, or Matt, because I know you guys kind of missed in that closed session last time, is that all?
Yeah, I think so. It's, Matt, I think I'm tracking now. It's just really the language change. I don't have any problem with it. Support it. That's what
So-
you need to do to be successful, and yeah, do it.
So we can either go forward and add that on to our next session, or if somebody would like to make a motion to approve it at this meeting, we can go forward and do that as well.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
I make a motion to amend the agenda and add 8E, approval to amend contract language for the changes Andrew discussed. Is that official enough?
I don't even know if you have to add that, I think you can just say that you would approve the change in contract language for.
For 80 and 80?
Mhm.
Let me break it down.
Yeah, so the contract language would be a full-time AP.
Full-time AP and 0.5 EE and 0.5 AE.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Hey Lacey,
Yes.
sorry, is there any issue with not opening or posting this for some reason? That AD job position?
It's my understanding that it's really just shuffling within staff that are already hired and tenure in our district, that it's not necessarily a new position that's coming up, it's just shifting of responsibilities.
But I think, Bruce, you are correct that the employee handbook says something about opening positions to all staff, so people who are interested have the opportunity to apply. I believe it's in there, I don't know for sure.
I think again too, even speaking to that, like I referenced before, understanding that I know that we might have people with those aspirations, but again, given August 7th, the fact that this person has been a successful AD in the past, and then also recognizing too that it doesn't open up potential gaps that we can't fill with that, are also all have been considered as well.
Shannon, can you speak to that at all? Because I feel like, I mean, I look at even in the spring, as far as some of the, different positions, they weren't necessarily posted.
Correct.
The principal had the authority to do that assigning, correct?
That's exactly
Okay.
what I would say.
Does that answer that, Bruce?
Yeah, it was tough to kind of hear, sorry, but, I don't know, are we handing it to somebody right now, or are we opening it up internally? I guess it is.
We are redistributing right now what responsibilities are, would be my perception of what's being done.
Not creating any new positions.
We're not creating a new position, we're just changing some responsibilities of two different people.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm quite awkward since I'm not sitting there.
No, yeah,
I know, and then sorry, I wasn't at the closed session either, it's kind of been a mess up here lately, but I don't know. I don't have any problem with the person I think you're putting in it, I don't know. Shannon, maybe you can speak up again, because maybe I missed what you were saying about just moving it internally. I mean, especially with this position, it just seems like we want to make sure we've, at least given everybody an opportunity here within.
Sure. So I would say so I hear you, I think my only response to that would be, we know that this plan currently does not open up any additional holes that we are worried we potentially can't fill. So this fills in all of the gaps. And so, I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think what Andrew is asking is, as the building principal, to be able to move around the pieces as he sees fit to do what he needs to do in the building. I hear your question, I get it. There's a lot of moving parts with staffing and some other things right now that we're trying to kind of get a handle on, and this is the recommendation. If the board as a whole would like to see it done differently, then we'll do what you want us to do. That's why it's kind of in your hands right now.
In the employee handbook, it's section 1.3.38, and it lists vacancies. And the administrator has, certainly the employer retains the right to choose the most qualified applicant, but it says right in here, when a position becomes vacant, which I believe the AD position is, when you make Trent full-time assistant principal, notice of such available position shall be posted on the district's website and emailed out to all staff via district email. Certainly, you have the right to choose the most qualified applicant for any position.
I think that's where we would push
But
back a
it
little
has
bit in
not
terms of
been
not meeting the
posted.
definition of vacant. So I think that's what
It's not vacant?
I am saying I would not agree with your interpretation of the word vacancy. I know what the employee handbook says. When I'm saying I don't believe the AD position is vacant, what I'm saying is I believe Andrew is looking at the pieces of the puzzle in his building and is asking to make an internal shift. My personal opinion is that's different than it's vacant, that it's open because someone resigned or creating a new position or whatever that looks like. So I'm not indicating that's 100% correct, but that would be my interpretation based off of what the building principal is asking.
Does the person moving into the .5 AD, are they work in an AD capacity now?
No, they have before for previous meeting. Which again, right, like, all these things that we're talking about is into that consideration as to why and how and all of those things, from gaps that it could lead us to. Again, if, things weren't successful and all that, right, like, I'm not just here to place people to just get by, but I'm confident that with these changes, we can do the things that we need to do. And like Lacey said, right, given the time frame of interviews and master schedule changes and the impact and transition to add to that as well.
Well, and Shannon, I feel like we're on the same wavelength, because I feel like how you interpret vacancy, I feel like then it's an open position, where I've witnessed already in the last couple of years a lot of different times where there's positions necessarily that aren't vacant that we didn't have out for people to apply, but it was switched around within the authority of the principal to be able to do that. I mean, I think we've all kind of seen that in different positions as far as, at the elementary and the middle school and the high school. It's not like someone has left and now so that's how I'm interpreting it, but I mean, I can see where that whole vacancy comes up. I mean, I think it's,
In my opinion, if this got shifted to a full-time AD position, then that, to me, meets the
Then it
criteria
would
that
be
we
a
would
different-
post it and do that regardless of, right, because that significantly changes rather than, again, covering internally.
I think an ED position's different than a math teacher, a teacher throughout the classroom, though. I guess that's my issue, is this isn't just moving someone around. I think this is kind of a own position.
The only difference, I think, Bruce, is that this is a .5 AD. And I would agree with Dr. Newman when he says that if it was a full-time AD, I think that's different. Being it's only .5 and moving someone to fill that gap, I don't think it's a vacancy. And I think as a board, we sit here, you know, all of the work we've done together, you know, like, is this our wheelhouse? I mean, this is our administration, this is the recommendation, they're following handbook. They're doing what they think is right to meet the needs of the district and the building. I support it. I don't think it's my place to scrutinize whether or not this is a vacancy. That's not it. I trust these two, and I trust their opinion, and I think we have to support them.
I would also go back, I think some of my thought as far as, I know our wording is different as far as AP for assistant principal, and I think that our elementary school and our middle school both have a behavior interventionist. So yes, they're not an assistant principal, but you have somebody in both of those buildings to be able to help with the behaviors and help with some of that support. And to have only a half-time doing that work at high school has always, I completely see why that full-time is needed. And even with the AD, I look at, I mean, the website and all the scheduling and different things that go into our athletics that, I mean, I understand where your request is coming from what I've viewed as a parent and a community member as far as what those jobs entail.
Yeah, I don't have any problem having a full-time AP either. I think that's I'm happy they were able to do this to, you know, fill this position. We've talked about this for multiple years now, making this happen, and I'm glad they were able to come up with this. I just think there might be other people who would be okay with having a part-time role, but maybe, you know, Dr. Newman said that this would be the only chance and not make a switch, but, you know, if there's another teacher in the building who wanted who could be a part-time in their position, I guess that's where I'm at, you know. I'm not trying to do a job for them, I'm just saying I don't want to alienate people in our district
Right.
either who want the opportunity to do this.
So right now there's a motion on the table. Why don't we, unless there's further discussion, vote on the motion that's on the table, and if we don't have, we can always look at. So let's do a roll call vote. Currently, our motion is that we approve that there would be a change in contract language for a full-time AP, and the AD, really that's not really our motion would be changing that contract language for a full-time assistant principal. And Dr. Newman would be doing the rest.
A teacher on special assignment, yeah.
I believe there's also a contract for the teacher that has to be changed as well to show the responsibility of
Of
.5
AD.
FIAD and .5 AD.
Okay, so it would be the two contract changes would be the,
It's part of the original.
okay, thank you. I worded it wrong, sorry. So Lori,
Well, no,
Ian,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
myself, yes. Bruce?
So, are we to put a person in this AD role, or is this just approving the full-time AP?
This is
Yeah.
approving the contract language of the two individuals that it would be affecting.
Actually, just putting it on the agenda. We're not voting on that.
Well, we're just voting on it,
We're just voting on that.
yes. So it would be approving the contract language of the full-time AP and approving contract language of the health and FIAD to then include also the AD job.
Shoot. I'm sorry, I gotta abstain from this one because I wasn't at the last meeting, the closed session. I just don't think I got enough information right now.
Okay, Marge?
I'll say no. We've gotten in trouble with this before, where we've just put people in positions and then other employees were upset because it wasn't put out there for them to apply for. So I don't think we should just do it
So, right now though, with our vote, the motion
Because it
carries
passed.
because it's 3-2.
No, because it's an abstaining counts as a no. So it doesn't pass because it's tied. I mean, you can check if you want.
Okay.
But
So if it doesn't carry, can we put this on our next agenda to maybe further, because we'll have all board members present, and then if we need further information in between that, if board members have a specific question that they'd like answered, if we, because it was my understanding that in between last time and this time, there hasn't been any questions asked of this from our closed session. So I think that, but if we can put this on our next session, then we can further discuss it, because I do feel like as far as timing wise and moving into the school year, each way we can move forward or have maybe a secondary plan.
Yeah, and Lacey, I'm sorry, but I would appreciate that. I don't have any problem bringing it back.
Yeah,
I should have reached out more after.
nope, yep, so we'll put it on our agenda for our next meeting then. Are you okay with that, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Looking at our superintendent update.
Yes, I have to get back on my right tab here. Okay, mine is pretty short and sweet. So you can see that there are a variety of policies there that we needed to have our district medical advisor and our district nurse look at annually. So those were sent to both of those people. Both wrote back that they did not request any changes, that everything looked good as is. So we're not recommending any changes to these policies. If you have questions, certainly let me know, but they were reviewed by both of them and both said that they are good to go. So this is really more of a formality to ensure that we're having those people look at those annually, and those should be set. So any questions about those?
is our licensed physician who's serving as our medical advisor still Jen Below?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then my other thing here, so district celebration, just want to mention that last week we had our professional learning community leaders on campus for 2 days, 30+ people diving into 2 full days of data analysis, setting goals, talking about building improvement plans, and really starting to map out the year in terms of the work that'll be happening in each building, wrapping around those goals, led by our principals who did a great job. Big conversations, that is really heavy work, both of those days, kind of watching people walk out of here, just drained. I know Sarah can speak to that. A lot of just really good conversations, really professional, rich dialogue about what's happening in each of the buildings right now, kind of reflecting on the previous year, and what are some areas that the buildings want to tackle moving forward. So I just want to give a shout out to that group because it was really, really good conversation, and I'm excited about the principals bringing that work to their full buildings during Welcome Back Week, which I think will be great. Our building leaders did a phenomenal job, so I want to make sure I shouted them out. And I saw today, Governor Evers signed into law that school board members can now serve as volunteer bus drivers. So we are always looking for additional drivers. So if you are interested, go get that license. We need you. So.
I have talked with Dewey about it, and the training is extensive. So this is not something that can be like the olden days. You can just go take
Yeah.
the test and pass. Now there are many requirements.
It is legit. So no compensation, you can't vote on matters that have to do with the school bus drivers, but other than that, we'd love to have you. So, those are my 2 things.
Thank you. Any questions for Shannon before moving forward? Okay, looking at our topics for action, is there a motion to approve or questions regarding our personnel update, athletics, the Wold invoices, and meal prices?
I have a couple questions. One is about the personnel update. I see that our person who is in the middle school librarian position is now going to be a 5th grade classroom teacher. And the board was told during budget reductions that there would be a librarian because we eliminated the aide positions in each of the.
We eliminated one of mine. I still have an aide.
You have one aide.
I have an aide still, yes.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
And
And working with that person.
the responsibilities then of the media specialist?
Being shared between the other two we have in the district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other question I had was the meal prices. The information is there for this year, but there was nothing about reflecting if there was a change.
Yeah, so I can get that. I didn't know how it's typically been done.
Uh-huh.
So no change to student prices, and adult prices went up, and I quote, a minimal amount. I don't exactly know what that is, so I'm happy to find the old prices if that's helpful.
I asked in the office before the meeting started, and Michelle thought that it was 10 cents for the adult breakfast and 35 cents for
Oh,
adult
well then that's
lunch.
more than I knew. Okay.
But it didn't affect students.
No
Correct.
effect on students.
Nope.
So that's good news, thank you.
Is there any other questions regarding any of those items? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll approve the topics for action in item 8A, B, C, and D.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For once we're on the table, I'll go ahead and start tonight. I don't have anything. Marge?
I don't either.
Lori?
I was wondering if perhaps we'll be getting a budget update for 23-24, specifically if there's a proposal regarding salaries and payroll. And between now and our next meeting, can we please follow the language in our employee handbook and post the .5 AD position internally by sending out emails to the staff? So if there are other people who, administrators certainly have the right to whoever they believe is the best fit for the job. By all means, I'm not second guessing any of that, but I think we do a lot of work on our policies and our employee handbook, and I think we should follow what they say.
Is there a second person that would like to see that?
Are you just asking for that position to be posted? Is that what you're saying, Lori?
At least internally, by email, following our employee handbook where it says that current staff will receive the posting via email.
Yeah, I was thinking some way that we could approve the 1.0 AP and kind of do the same thing internally at least, and then have maybe a recommendation by the next meeting that maybe it is the person that you have, but at least it was open. And again, sorry, I just kind of heard about that tonight, but.
So Bruce, you are a second person that would like that done?
Yeah, and I would even one up it that we approve maybe this 1.0 AP position too.
So I have a question, I guess, why, and I was gonna wait my turn, but I'll just say it because we're talking about this. Why are we nitpicking and trying to decide what we want to get our hands on, what we don't? Why is there not an issue with this 5th grade teacher moving from media specialist to 5th grade teacher? Why isn't that posted internally?
Because the 5th grade teacher position has been posted all summer.
Okay. Okay. I just, with all the movement that we've had, and all of the budget problems that we've had, I don't understand why, for him to stand here and say, it's been 2 weeks, we talked about in closed session. I also wasn't at closed session, but I feel like I picked up enough of what's going on. If there's no questions, if nobody on this board had a specific question that he could speak to tonight, how do we continue to just erode this relationship between the board and administration by not doing what they come here and recommend? I don't get it. I don't understand how we can sit here and say, well, let's get an email out about this .5 AD position. That's not our place as board. I strongly feel that's just not our place.
Well, I think that other people in the school, other teachers or staff should have a chance at that position too.
I get that. I really do.
We've gotten in trouble with that before.
Okay, I would need some examples because I'm not familiar, but, and I fully agree with you. But with the climate that we're in and the cuts that we had to make and the non-renewals, and we can't find people, we can't find this 5th grade teacher for months. And this is the one that we're just gonna drag, and because what if somebody else wants it, then we can't backfill that spot. Like, if in this climate, we have somebody that can fill it,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna affect the kids, why wouldn't we just support that for right now?
Andrew still has the last say, and he makes the recommendation.
I get that, but we're delaying it 2 weeks. If he stands here and says, this is my recommendation, and we say, man, we don't believe you, do some more work, we wait 2 more weeks, and then we just say, oh yeah, okay, great. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
We didn't say we don't believe them.
Then why would we support him?
I can't support just giving that job to somebody without having the other people having a chance at it.
Okay, but that's fair.
That I can't support.
That's fair. I mean, we can disagree, but
And the
that's your point.
reason I feel this way is because we do, and you know, Matt, all the work we do on policies, and you know, you weren't involved in the employee handbook, but I was here for meetings with Jody and Tasia for a whole school year, working on that employee handbook. And I just want the procedures and policies that we have in place followed. That's all I want. The board has approved policies and an employee handbook, and I would just like it followed. And then whatever the recommendation is, fine. And I don't think that's undermining anybody.
Okay.
I go back to, and I know this isn't discussion, it's once around the table, but I go back to spring, when we're talking about reductions and we're talking about placements. I feel like we're having way too much discussion around a recommendation and a placement that was made. Being a teacher, every year in districts, I see it happen, and it's not up for discussion with all the different staff. It's not up for, oh, let's send out an email to see who wants to do it. I've never seen that done. So I think for recommendations to come, and for us as a board, I agree with Matt 100%. I don't think that we should have a say in this. I don't think that this is us to be going through. But
Yeah, and
that's
ultimately,
my
I'm speaking
If
to.
it wasn't for
you.
us, why did he come to us?
because we ask for transparency. We ask for people to know what's going on in our district.
So if he came to us, he's asking us about it. Otherwise, he would have just
Well,
gone and
we've already
done it.
discussed it, so it's going to be on our next thing, and we now have 2 people. I'm just saying I disagree with it. As a teacher, I've never come to say, oh, do you want to put that? I've never seen this done. So, and I don't think in any workforce, in any business, it's done that way as well.
You're making moves as you see fit. If there's no financial impact, make the move so it doesn't affect staffing and the kids. And let's operate.
And
Let's
truly,
get out of the
I
weeds.
looked at the date that it's the beginning of August, and I don't think that this is what's best for kids, because now we're putting this up to after fall sports are starting, and when teachers are back at school, and we're making a change after staff's already here. So I don't think it's what's best for kids, what we're doing, but it's already approved, and that's what we're going for.
Can I
Do you
just
have any-
clarify one thing? I just want to make sure that this doesn't, in terms of misinformation, the 5th grade position is not one that's been posted all summer. That was due to the budget stuff, and that was moved internally. So I want to make sure that that was not stated incorrectly in terms of that particular position. But-
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, can I have one final, like, what would you like me to do? Because now, whatever. Is it sending an email? And is it 0.5 AD? Am I sending an email about 1.0 AP?
Well, we had discussed for our once around the table that if somebody wants possible action, if there's 2 people, then that would go forward. So right now, we have 2 people that would like for the AD and the AP to go out internally to staff. Correct?
Can 2 people make that decision to say, hey, I want this posted? I don't agree with that.
I think 2 people can get it on an agenda or a topic for action.
Yeah, I don't agree it should be posted, so I don't support that.
No, and I hope you're not saying, I think that we should be posting that AP position. Hope that's not what I am.
Are you talking about the AD?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with giving Trent the 1.0 AP position. I mean, he's already doing that job. I was just saying that we have a 0.5 internally that we're opening to anybody. That would be the only thing.
The AD, the athletic director, the .5.
Yeah. And again, I wasn't at the last one, so I didn't know that this was part of the approval last time, that maybe they talked through, maybe they've already heard from everybody who would have wanted this job. I don't know.
Well, they haven't heard from everybody, but, go ahead, Bruce. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I don't wanna post an AP job. So when we come to the next meeting, that anyone who's at least had the opportunity to say, yeah, have you thought about me doing this? Yeah, I don't know.
But that would mean it needs to be posted, a .5 AD. Right? I don't think they should just be reaching out and asking for volunteers, right?
I think what he's saying, Bruce, I don't know if you can hear me, are you indicating an email being sent out to staff saying, if you are interested in a .5 athletic director position, please contact Dr. Newman by XYZ date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Are we able to do that?
Yeah, I just want direction from the board as a whole in terms of, so I know when I leave here, I'm doing what the will of the board is asking. And I think if that's what it is, then I think I've got it.
Well, I don't support that, so that's not the will of me.
I know this is where I'm going back to where we've talked about once around the table.
Yeah, I think.
Motion to do this, because it's
I
really
think-
not ours to make a motion.
I think that what this conversation is that this means we can discuss the .5 AD position in 2 weeks on the agenda. That's all this is. I don't, a once around the table doesn't give direction to administrator to send an email or post a position. No way, I disagree with that. Again, and I go back to this 5th grade teacher. I mean, Bruce or Lori, how can you sit here and say, did we send an email asking for interest in the 5th grade teacher position to everyone? I'm guessing not. I don't know.
I would say an AD position is a lot different than a 5th grade teacher.
But but there's no pay. All this is a contract change and basically an assignment. That's it. It isn't a new position. So I disagree. I think there's a gap, just like the 5th grade teacher, that needs to get filled. And Dr. Newman picked the best person to fill that with the least impact on his building. And that's all there is to it. Unless I'm understanding this completely wrong. Now, if it was a new AD or another .5, I think that's completely different. That changes the game. This is simply using the staff we already have to fill the gap, just like we did with the 5th grade teacher,
Well, and
to get us by.
I think you summarized it exactly, because there's not any other positions, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, in the high school that could take on another .5.
According to Andrew, that's correct. Mhm.
Because of the situation of the FIAD health teacher, this is one position that could carry on that .5.
So if 2 people want it on the agenda, then put it on the agenda, but I don't think there should be any action by Shannon based on 2 people's interest in it.
No,
But it's just delaying this whole process. So, but if that's what 2 of you want to do, then let's discuss it in 2 weeks.
Oh, then that delays it even further.
And it keeps us, we're right back in the same spot. And I think it just continues to erode the relationship that the administration has with the board. And I just think that that's wrong.
And I already explained, I think we
Yep.
need to follow our employee handbook and our policies.
Okay, I'm kind of stuck on how moving forward here, because this was a once around the table that kind of got into.
Well, I could have said it back when Andrew was still here, and I waited.
Do you want to make a motion, Lori? Do we want to go back to do that? Because I feel like that would probably be a little bit more appropriate
Sure.
than having
I
it.
will make a motion that we internally post the .5 AD vacancy.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Lori?
Yes.
Ian? Matt?
No.
Myself, no. Bruce?
Yeah.
Yes,
Marge? So we have a 3-3 vote.
so it fails.
So it fails, so it doesn't get posted.
Yep.
But we will go ahead and put this on our next agenda. The position to go ahead and when all board members are present. to go
So what do
forward.
we,
Late, today.
I'm sorry, it's hard when there's, what was that?
Is our next meeting the 14th or the 21st?
21st.
21st. With that, because we're here, is everybody planning on being at that meeting on the 21st?
Yeah.
I sent out an email earlier today, just asking for that, because then in closed session, we
Your
will
email
also,
Yeah,
said
about
the
14.
14th.
I'm sorry,
That's
I
fine,
said the
that's okay.
14th, I meant the 21st, sorry. My bad. So the 21st, okay. Ian, do you have anything for Once Around the Table?
Go get some fall mums and support the Somerset Music Boosters.
Some what?
Fall mums?
Oh, moms.
I can't read that kind of
I know, it's still fun. Matt?
I have nothing else.
Okay, is there a motion to?
I'm sorry, I just need some clarification to make sure. So on the next agenda, this item is brought back. What do you need from Andrew? Like, what are you discussing in, like, are you going to be approving, is that going to be then approving potential or asking for approval for handbook, or excuse, not handbook, language change in the contract, or what?
It would be asking for language because then we would have 7 members of our board present and it wouldn't be a half-half. And also with Bruce abstaining, he asked for more information, I think, to get more up to date on the issue.
Well, it's, honestly, I don't know, if we're 3-3 on the other one, and we're not asking to do anything else, I don't know, maybe it's too far past, but is there a way just to reword this and vote for this again tonight? Somehow, I don't know, I'm sorry. I mean, we've talked about it, I've heard more on this, but if we're not posting it internally, then there's really no reason, there's nothing more for the next 2 weeks to come out of this.
Well, I
Yeah,
think right now
you're
it's
right.
already not passed though tonight, so I don't think we can vote on the same thing in one night, can we?
There's a rule about it, but I don't remember what it is. I know that if a person changes their mind about how they want to vote, they can ask.
Well, if I abstain, to re-abstain,
Yeah, so if Bruce wants to change his vote so that it passes another way, he has the right to do that. I don't know if there's a time limit involved, so, you know, I don't object to doing it if it's, you know, my concern was not following our employee handbook. And Bruce,
Well,
quite honestly, I hadn't
I get
even
it.
thought of that.
well, my thought is if nothing's gonna happen in the next 2 weeks, if it's not gonna be posted, that was just 1-3-3, then there's no more information we need to get for the next 3 weeks. So I'd be fine not abstaining and voting yes to approve it. Sorry, hold round and round, but instead of abstaining. So I'm not gonna gain any more for the next 3 weeks if it's not gonna be posted internally.
So would you like to restate the motion?
Sure.
No, this, we're reading the rules here, it says, once you've moved on to the next item of business, you can't change your vote. Change an individual vote.
At the next meeting, maybe. A person who's in,
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of reading the rules here, it says, once you've moved on to the next item of business, you can't, just because you change your mind, you can't go back and change your vote.
Okay.
So I would say
So
we
let's-
shouldn't do that.
Bruce, let's put it on the next agenda, and I would say to any board members, if you want more information or to be caught up, we can do so in the next couple weeks.
The only thing I'd say, Shannon, to maybe answer your question of what you want, what I would like to see is it listed as your recommendation or Andrew's recommendation. You know, this list tonight was kind of just like open conversation, open dialogue. I would like to see, this is our recommendation, this is why, this is what we've done, and then possible action. I think that makes it a little clearer. You get a yes, no on the action, rather than just a report. Does that help?
It does. I think that came out of the conversation from what the board was asking for in the closed session. So, but
Oh, okay.
that's helpful. And I think the other thing too, I want to be cognizant about using terms like not following the employee handbook, because I think, you know, that gives the impression, in my opinion, that there's some sort of intentional decision-making of not following what's in the employee handbook. So I want to put that out there, that that obviously is not Andrew's intent, my intent. I think currently, as I kind of said, I think we just have a different interpretation of what that is. But that's been mentioned a couple times, of not following the employee handbook, which I think is just my 2 cents of just being careful of saying those kinds of things, just because I think that just gives the impression that there's something intentionally malicious happening, which is obviously not the case, but.
Thank you for that, I would agree. Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn into closed session of the board pursuant Wisconsin statute section 1985 1C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the board has jurisdiction?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We will now be moving into closed session at 6:55.